And for more, let's bring in Leland Vittert, host of NewsNation's On Balance. Good morning, Leland. So President Biden pausing weapons deliveries to Israel over the Rafah offensive. We know that's happened. Should we expect to see the U.S. do more then to pressure Israel into making a deal?
Boy, that is an interesting question, and one that I think when you say, can you expect the United States, it's going to depend a lot on what happens domestically for President Biden, because obviously there is a lot of pressure in Congress, especially, to not handcuff Israel. And there's a lot of pressure on the street, meaning in the campus protests, to continue to handcuff Israel. The question domestically, I think, for President Biden is there any political salvation in the middle here? Because he at one point says, I fully support Israel, and at another, and he's saying, well, I'm withholding this aid in order to try and pressure them into a deal. That really doesn't make anybody happy. That doesn't make the protesters happy. That clearly are gaining political strength and gaining more of a foothold and are expanding and now leading up to the DNC are going to be an issue. And at the same time, it doesn't make supporters of Israel happy, and it doesn't make Jewish donors happy. So it is a very difficult space that President Biden's trying to occupy right now.
Leland, I read your war notes every night. I suggest our viewers do so as well. I want to read something that you said. I would love to ask you about it. You said,
oh boy.
No, I think
the words are coming back.
I think it's well said. President Biden should stop playing both side strategy, condemning anti-Semitism and Islamophobia, risk losing the moral high ground. So do you think he should just pick one side? And then how is that the moral high ground?
Well, by that I mean this. We've been told for a long time that you have to call out racism and you have to call out issues as they are. Remember when Black Lives Matter happened, you couldn't say all lives matter. There's not people protesting in the streets to kill Muslims. There's not calls to wipe Muslim countries from the face of the earth. There's not Muslims on college campuses who are facing harassment and violence and calls for violence. There is not big encampments built cheering about the final solution. So the point is that President Biden is trying to say, well, I condemn hate on all sides, as if that is good enough for condemning the anti-Semitism and the Jew hatred that's going on America's college campuses. And by the moral high ground, I mean, if he wants to support Israel, then support Israel. Supporting friends, especially ones who are at war and who have their citizens and American citizens held hostage, that does not come with equivocation. Normally if you're out at a bar with some friends and a buddy needs some help or a girlfriend needs some help, you don't say, well, I support you, but I also support the people who support your enemies a little bit because I want to make sure that I get to go to their parties next weekend. That's not how friends work.
That is very well said. Thank you for that. Again, I love reading your war notes every night. Looking ahead, CIA Director Bill Burns will reportedly meet with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu today. What can we expect?
Look, there's no question that there's a lot of tension between Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Biden. And I think Bill Burns, who's the CIA director, who came up through the State Department ranks in foreign service, he has led the Biden foreign policy in many ways, and he's seen as a key confidant of President Biden and an emissary when it comes to his foreign policy. Doesn't have a great track record, frankly. He was the one who led a lot of the work on Afghanistan. We know how that turned out. He was the one who delivered the final warning to Vladimir Putin, which Putin ignored before going in to Ukraine. So Bill Burns' track record is not stellar. I think the issue that you're seeing right now, and I say this advisingly because of Robert's excellent reporting on the ground in Israel. Bibi Netanyahu was on the ropes domestically in Israel a couple of months ago with his own domestic political pressure. The pressure the United States has put on Netanyahu has backfired. In the sense that the Israelis population have said, we may not like Netanyahu, we may not like what he's doing, but we like being told what to do by America less. And over the decades, Israel consistently does more, is willing to negotiate more, is willing to capitulate more, is willing to offer more concessions when they feel full-throated support from the United States versus what's happening now. They feel alone And much like any of us, when we feel alone, we get scared. And when we get scared, we're much more likely to be more aggressive.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.